All right, welcome into the stream. A big breaking news. Sorry. We weren't going to do a Pugs and Parker proudly present pillow talk tonight, and it was because of the Mavs game. But, honestly, I haven't even been watching the Mavs game all night. I've been sort of preoccupied with some of the other things that we've been covering all day here. Hi, folks. It's me, your old friend, Pugs Moran. We do 2 streams a day. We do the high noon stream that comes on at noon every day. That's hot topics, that's trends, that's headlines, that's anything that people are talking about, anything that people are talking about that isn't politically divisive or any kind of, the nonsense, you're on the right, you're on the left kind of BS. We don't do that. It's not something that we do. Then we do Pillow Talk, which is 9 p.m. Central Time. That's every Monday through Thursday. And that's me and James Parker. And we just, we chop it up. Talk it out. We just get into discussions about sometimes stupid stuff, a lot of times current events. And from time to time, when there's big breaking news, we just jump in when there's something to be discussed. See, we've got some people here. Hi, Leslie. Hi, Kenny. Let's see, who else do we got? We got Al. We got people filling in. Okay, so you know what this is about. I don't even know how long this will last. I've just, I didn't watched a little bit of basketball. Hi, Cheryl. Cheryl checking in from Canada. Watched a little bit of basketball tonight, and then I just couldn't get into it. And then I tried to watch my ball, tried to watch my baseball, tried to watch my White Sox. Jesus. I believe it was 10-0 in the third inning when I went. Yeah, this day is just a shite day all the way around. Storming. We got some storms moving through here in the North Texas area. Certainly we here in Dallas, Highland Park getting pounded. Streets are kind of flooding. And since signing off, when did I sign off? About 5:30 this evening. It's just been an endless onslaught of horror and sadness and depression and garbage and all of that stuff. So I thought, hey, I'm an old talk show host. Why not just, instead of just sitting, and I was in bed, I was in my bed, I was like in my bed watching the TV, watching, you know what I did do? I for those of you who are familiar with the High Noon Show, you know that I'm a bit obsessed with watching news from other parts of the world. So I started watching my Sky News, my Brits, started watching my English people talking about this. Talking about what? Yeah, I know. I haven't even brought it up. It's like I can't even say Uvalde. It's like I don't even want to say it. We're talking about the Uvalde, Texas massacre that happened today. It's a massacre. It's a straight up slaughter at this point. The Brits. I really got kind of energized to do this, to come on at 10 o'clock and just kind of hang out with you guys and talk. And like I said, I don't really care how many people are out with us today, just as long as it's us. I see the important people. I see the people I care about. That's all I really need. I don't know. Maybe this is catharsis. Who knows? Maybe this is just something to do. Just something because we're all feeling the same way. We're all, and if you've spent any time on any of the social media platforms tonight, you just know that it ain't getting any better anytime soon. This ain't nothing. This is just something that happened today, and by tomorrow it'll all be about how Trump's a criminal and Biden's got Alzheimer's, and we'll be back to that stuff. This is just a needed distraction to cleanse the palate before we all have to stomach the idea that Georgia thinks Herschel Walker is qualified to be a United States senator. Okay. That happened tonight, and that was kind of brushed under the rug. It's not that Republicans, this isn't a Republican or a conservative thing. This is a Herschel Walker thing. You people, what is wrong with you? Well, I guess the Dems, the libs are all celebrating because they're looking at this and they're feasting for the general election. They're like, we got to run against Herschel Walker. Well, all right. So whatever. All right, so here's the latest on the Uvalde, Texas school shooting that occurred today. We're up to 19. When we signed off, it was 14 dead kids. It's 19 dead kids now. It is 19 dead kids. It is 2 dead teachers. This comes from the Texas Department of Public Safety, DPS. They've been all over everything. Here's what we do know. We know that the sick fuck who did this, he bought 2 forgive me, my gun friends. I don't know. What were they? What do they do? They look like machine guns to me. Don't say machine guns. Now you're just gonna be needlessly provocative. Whatever they are, they're big, spooky looking Master Chief looking weapons. He turned 18. He bought some guns. No history that is being reported. Again, we're still in the early days of this. No history of any rampant mental illness. He was born in North Dakota. He moved to Uvalde, Texas when he was a young kid. Went to Uvalde High School, turned 18, bought a couple of guns, walked into a school, killed a whole bunch of little 4th graders. 4th grade is all that we have confirmation on, but it's looking like it's he apparently went room to room. Killed the teachers that were in the room. So we know at least 2 rooms he walked into and immediately killed the teachers, and then just kind of went off on the kids. If I seem a little down, well, gee, I mean, if what I'm saying is I've been drinking a little bit, just a little bit, just having a little something. Hold on, I gotta mix this up a bit. I like to add just a little bit of like what that is like a 7-Up Sprite kind of a thing to my Jameson. I like to drink the Jameson. And don't say gross, because that's like the national drink of Ireland. Well, not that. This is the ugly American version of the national drink of Ireland. National mixed cocktail of Ireland is Jameson and ginger ale, which is kind of like Jameson and 7-Up, which is kind of like Jameson and lemon lime, which is kind of what I'm doing here. So it's not like I'm a weirdo. I mean, I am a weirdo, but not specifically for that reason. Okay, so where were we? So he walks in, starts killing all these kids. He's dead. We know that he's dead. We know that he first attacked his grandmother before heading to the school. He attacked his grandmother. His grandmother, I do not have the latest on her. It has been going back and forth. He killed his grandma. He didn't kill his grandma. His grandma's in critical condition. His grandma died. No, his grandma didn't die. So we don't know. At any rate, did some terrible things there. He had apparently been planning this. He was wearing, again, we have some conflicting reports. The Texas DPS says that he was wearing body armor. The Texas Rangers say that he was wearing a bulletproof vest. Governor Abbott of Texas said that he had a handgun and maybe rifles. And then witnesses at the scene say that he had rifles or a rifle or something. So we don't know, we will know for sure over the next couple of days. He had apparently been planning this. It was apparently something that he had in the works for quite some time. Concerning his living arrangement, we've not heard about his parents yet. At least I haven't. At least through all of the different channels that I've sort of been monitoring, we haven't heard about his parents. All we know about is a grandma. We know that he reached out to a woman on Instagram and basically told her what he was going to do. He didn't tell her. He didn't say, I'm going to go into a school and kill a bunch of kids. But he told her, I've got a secret. I've got something I'm going to do, and blah, blah, blah. He showed her all these guns. This woman, who has not been identified as of yet, at least, again, not as far as my little channels go that I've been monitoring, she claims she has no idea who this dude is. That this was just some kind of a random deal. No, not in the context that they're talking about here. Body armor as present, Ed. I'm answering Ed. In the context that the DPS said that he's body armor in that regard suggests that he was wearing padded pants and all that kind of stuff. Texas Rangers amended that to say that no, it was not full body armor. It was a bulletproof vest. But yeah, really, what's the point, right? I mean, what we're talking about here is that it showed some level of premeditation on his part, that he had intended to get, or at least recognize the possibility of getting into some kind of firefight with police. And he did. He did. That is coming up now in the last hour. So he does this deal to his grandma. Again, we don't know the living situation. We don't know that he was living with his grandma. All we know that is that he attacked his grandmother, and she is either dead or she's in critical condition. Either way, she's an older woman, so I imagine it's probably not good for her. He then jumped in his vehicle and he drove like a maniac, apparently, through the streets of Uvalde, causing police to become interested in his movements. He was followed by police. Depending on who you ask, I mean, again, there are people that are saying it started as a police chase. There are other people that are saying, no, there was no police chase. But what we do know is that he wrecked out his truck somewhere near the entrance to the school. He exited the truck, and this is where the details get weird here. So let me read. I will read verbatim what the Texas Department of Public Safety said regarding the moments before he entered the school, okay? All right, so here's how it has been described. Hold on. I was making fun of Kevin Sorbo on Twitter, so I got to move past those. Oh, Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz is helping. Okay, that's the latest from the DPS. The 19th child has died. Give me a second here. Okay, shooter crashed his car in front of the school. He exited the crash scene in body armor, which is now being described as just a bulletproof vest. He engaged with police officers at the scene. He ran towards the school, where he was immediately engaged with a armed school security officer. So before he got into the school, he had to get past an armed school security officer. Don't know if that man has been shot. We do not know the number of victims who are just injured, critically or otherwise. We don't know. We know that there are a number of other people who were injured in this, but we don't know any of the details. The term used by the DPS was engaged with an armed school security officer. Engaged. They didn't say got into a gunfight, didn't say exchanged fire, whatever, but he was engaged by an armed school security guard while he was trying to get into the school. He apparently then was engaged, again, they're using the word engaged, by two Uvalde uniformed police officers who had been chasing him through the crash and all that kind of stuff. So at this point, there are 3 armed professionals who have gotten in between this guy and the school, and somehow he still got into the school. It's also being reported that the Department of Homeland Security is saying that a squadron, I don't know, wouldn't know what the term is, of Border Patrol agents were some of the first on the scene who then entered the school after he had entered the school. I mean, he got past people, you know. I mean, there were 2 police officers that he got past to get into the school, and then there was an armed security guard who confronted him, engaged with him. Again, I don't want to use the wrong words. And he got past them all, and he got into the school. And then moments later is when the border officers arrived. Apparently, there is a well-armed border patrol station there in Uvalde. They arrived on the scene, and that is when the so-called barricade situation took place. Now, I bring that up because on today's show, during the high noon stream that we do, which is typically about topics and breaking news and current events and pop culture and trends and all that kind of stuff, we were distracted at the very beginning of the show because I started to get some alarms that went off on my phones. These alarms let me know when there is some kind of large breaking news story that's happening. And I looked and I saw school shooting in progress, Uvalde, Texas. So we shifted. We stopped talking about whatever it was that was trending that we were going to get into, and we started to discuss this situation. And I mean, we covered it, folks. If you were with me on the noon show, you were with me at 12:20, maybe. I mean, we were all over it. We were like, okay, we've got some situation happening in Uvalde, Texas, about 50 miles outside of San Antonio, about another 50 miles from the border with Mexico. Says that there's an active shooter on campus. We then saw that the Uvalde Independent School District was tweeting out confirmation that there was a situation on the campus of the Rob, excuse me, school. It's a elementary school, Rob Elementary School. So it was all looking quite scary. And then all of a sudden, it all just died off. And one of the other things that I thought was interesting, if you were with us on the noon show today when we were covering this as it was happening, was that we dialed up the Uvalde police scanner, and the Uvalde police scanner was silent, which is never the case. For a scanner nerd like me, whenever something is happening, whenever there's some sort of significant event going down, you go to the police scanners and you can listen into the police who are on the scene. You get the news before the news is made. You get the news directly from the police. You know, if there's a policeman screaming into his radio, "I'm hit," or if there's a policeman screaming into his radio, "Oh my God, it's horrible." You know, you get all this information straight from the boots on the ground individuals. And in this particular situation, there was nothing. Here we had all of these reports. We had all of these alarms going off, whether it be the Google or on my phone or the police scanner alarms. All of my alarms were going off, alerting me that something was happening. And yet on the scanner, it was absolute silence. Now, in the morning, in the moment, I should say, I thought, optimistically, I thought, well, this is probably good. This is probably nothing. You know, we compartmentalize these things. Is this crime on crime? Is this some sort of criminal who just did something that a criminal does in close proximity to a school? It has nothing to do with our darkest nightmares of what it could be, because that's the other compartment. The other compartment is the crazy person who attacks a school and kills a bunch of kids. So we had, in the moment, sort of had reason to think that maybe this was nothing, because there was no chaos on the police radios. In fact, there was absolutely nothing. And out of hundreds of these situations that I've monitored over the last couple of years, these scanner events, these breaking news events, this has never been the case. It has never been the case where there was nothing happening on the scanner. So I thought to myself, well, maybe this is good news. Maybe this is good news. But then also there was a dark part, and I even talked about this a little bit on the air today. I said, you know, there is a dark side to this, and the dark side is that the police who arrived on the scene first saw some really, really bad stuff, and they made the decision in that moment to go dark on the radios, that this was going to be a big deal. So the absence of the police scanner meant that there was an absence of news being reported on it. And the story kind of went away. I would say we covered it for about 10, 15 minutes this afternoon. And the story went away. And then there was a story that was released by the Uvalde Police Department. This was directly from the police department. And now these are the institutional accounts on social media that we're supposed to be trusting and that we're supposed to be leaning on. Because why would the police lie about this? And the police tweet at the time said the situation was over. This was at about 12:40 p.m. Situation was over. It was an incident that occurred in front of the school, not at the school. It was just happenstance that it was near the school, and that the offender was in custody. Okay, so we all breathed a big, hearty sigh of relief, and we went on with the show, and we just started talking about other things. A couple of hours go by, and it's 14 dead. It's 14 kids dead. Strange. I've honestly never seen a breaking news story have 3 hours of absolute darkness. Now, Uvalde is a rural community, just far enough away from San Antonio for major San Antonio media to go, yeah, maybe it's nothing. Maybe we shouldn't get in the news van and get out there and start covering this. Who knows? Any number of reasons, but it went dark for about 3 hours. And then we all found out the absolute horrible truth. And that is, when I went on the air, when I re-signed on the air, I think we got off at 2:30. And I think I jumped back on at 3:10, 3:15, something like that. And we did stream for a couple hours. We went till 5:30 as it was all unfurling, I suppose, in front of our eyes. There were 14 dead at that point. We didn't know much about them. Now we know a little bit more. Still don't have a lot of names of the victims. We do have the names of a beautiful young fourth grade teacher. We saw her. They released her photo. I'll show that in a few minutes. Just, like I said, just let me vent here. I'm just kind of working through the wheels on this whole thing. And then for the last 5 hours, it's just been people being assholes. And look, maybe some have been good intentioned assholes, Hey, prayers, right? But the politics has already started. The gun control talk has already started. And you know what? I fell victim to that as well. I got into some arguments with some people on Twitter, and I was just like, I can't do this. And then it was 3 hours of pearl clutching CNN and MSNBC and Fox News, and those baboons on any of those channels. None of them are helping, so it's all just eh. Steve Kerr was pretty righteous. Steve Kerr, head coach of the Golden State Warriors, he gave a press conference before tonight's Eastern or Western Conference Finals matchup between the Mavericks and the Golden State Warriors, and it was a doozy. It was a doozy from old Steve Kerr. That was good. Our senator here, our senators, I should say, Cornyn and Cruz, they're both praying really hard for the victims, for the kids. A couple of really distressing things have been reported. Brace yourself for this one, because this one is just so ugly. I should also preface this for those of you who don't know me, who don't understand. I have a 13-year-old son who goes to an elementary school here in Texas. So, this is all kind of for many of you too. Some of the daily listeners, I know a lot of you got kids in that same age range. We all got pregnant and married and had kids around the same time. So there are a lot of parents who are still down there in the reunification center right now. They don't know anything. They're seeing the news just like we are. They're seeing that 19 kids have been slaughtered. They're seeing, their kids' teachers' pictures being put up on the news channels, and their kids are unaccounted for. There's a bunch of parents down there right now whose kids are. There's a bunch of. Let this rattle around in your head. There are a bunch of parents down there whose kids are unaccounted for, and they are praying that their kid is tore up and in a hospital somewhere. They are praying that their kid is just, undergoing surgery somewhere right now. Because the other option is that their kid is dead, is that their kid is lying in a classroom in the school, and the kids aren't. Investigators are asking these parents to give DNA swabs. They're asking these parents to voluntarily come over to the van or whatever, the mobile scene unit or whatever, and get a DNA swab. Why? Because the victims are unrecognizable. Because they can't just look at the kids and go, oh yeah, that's little Charlie, or oh yeah, look at that, that's little Julio, or that's little Michael. They can't. They need parents' DNA because they need to be able to do identification. And apparently I don't know what these guns do. I don't know what these AR-15s do, but that's what the kid bought. The kid bought a couple of AR-15s, and again, we're not talking about guns. We're not talking about guns. I don't give a shit about your take on guns, whether it's right, left. I don't care. We're not talking about guns right now. We're talking about them in the context of what when the rubber hits the road, we're talking about what these guns do. And we're learning that when these guns do to a 10-year-old in a fourth grade classroom, it makes it difficult to be able to look at the kid and go, oh, yeah, I know who that is. So that's happening right now to some people. Some people are some fellow human beings right now in this moment as I sit here having my drink. Just texted my kid, I love you, good night, sleep well. He's oblivious. He's like, what you say? What I love you. I really, I text. I just randomly text. I mean, I tell him I love him anyway, but I just randomly text him. I love you. Sleep well. Can't wait to see you. And then he texted back, why you being weird? which is exactly what you want. It's exactly what you want. Yeah, I am. Yeah, I'm right, you little 13-year-old. I am. I'm being weird. I'm being weird right now. Because I can be. Because I'm not a parent sitting in a reunification center 50 miles outside of San Antonio waiting to find out if my kids, oh please, I hope that their spine has been severed and they'll just never walk again. That's what they're hoping. They're hoping something like that. They're hoping something terrible like that. Because the opposite thing is that it's really bad. Leslie says, undergoing surgery for gunshot wound suffered at school on the last week of school. Leslie. All right, look out, Rob. I know we're all looking for distractions right now. Leslie's the queen of the chat room. She's coming for you. She's coming for you. All right. So what is the latest here? I mean, what do we need to talk about here? Should we talk about I don't know. Do we want to talk about the politics? I don't. I hate to even say that word politics, in this context, because it's just also. And like I said, I don't know how long we're going to do this. All right. Let's see here. Okay, very good. All right. Sorry about that. I don't know. We've got bad storms. We've got some bad storms. All right, very good. Thank you, Gary. All right, just reading this. So apparently the school shooter was pissed that he didn't graduate from high school and his grandmother was yelling at him. So he then shot his grandmother and ran off towards the school. I don't know if that's true. It might be. Who knows? We don't know. But it does appear that he had been planning this. It does appear that because of some contact that he had made with somebody on Instagram, that this was not something that was triggered because he had a fight in the morning with his grandmother. Maybe the murder of his grandma, maybe that was not planned and ended up happening. Okay, so here we'll look at some things. Okay, why not? I've got a couple of things prepared. Although, wait. First of all, let's see what the latest is. So Ted Cruz, our governor, God forbid, our senator here in Texas. Although, really, what's the difference? What could Ted Cruz? I mean, what would there be any different policy? I don't know. So Ted Cruz is at this hour calling for all schools in Texas to have an armed security guard on campus. And he believes that that's the solution to the problem. I believe schools do in Texas. I don't know if it's a mandate. I don't know if all schools have to. I know that my son's middle school in Plano does. I know my son's middle school in Plano has a number of armed school resource officers. You see the police cars parked out in front of the school all the time. That guy is always there. And in the case of this specific situation, there was an armed police officer on campus who confronted a trained armed resource officer who confronted the shooter before he got into the school, and the kid still got in the school. And additionally, he got past 2 Uvalde police officers. He was confronted by 3 people. He got past all of them and got into the school. So Senator Cruz, with all due respect, shut the fuck up. What are you talking about here? Other people are saying, well, what we need is we need a well-trained officer on. Well, we did. We had that. We had that here. Okay. And whatever, a little body armor and more firepower. And it's really not a problem for somebody who doesn't give a shit about dying. He just wants to take out as many people as he can with him. So maybe that's not the answer. And the other thing, just 2 weeks ago, the Buffalo, New York shooting, there was an armed, not retired, former Buffalo police officer on duty as a security guard. And he was the first person killed. The first person killed because he was outgunned. Oh, now you're getting into some gun talk. No, I'm not. I'm just like all you guys. I'm just working this through, trying to figure it out. So I did look up the Sandy Hook situation. The Sandy Hook situation, that was 26 total deaths. It was 20 kids plus 6 adults. And in this situation, we're right there. We're really close. We're at 19 kids as I speak into this microphone. And I don't know how many adults. 2. Oh, God, I shouldn't be dismissive. I apologize. Folks, if I do anything that strikes you as in poor taste or whatever, just know that it's not coming from a decent place. It's coming from a place of frustration. It's coming from, a couple of glasses of whiskey. And so what do you do? Well, what are we supposed to do? I don't know. All right, let me see here. Let me pull up. Whoa, we don't need that. Bear with me. I'm afraid that we're going to wake up tomorrow. It's going to be 30. It's going to be 30 dead. The number is just growing every hour. Every time they do an update on CNN, it's another dead 2nd or 4th grader. The idea that once again, this dude entered the school and then just moved classroom to classroom, just the horror. Okay, we'll move off of that. So here's something that I was wondering about. Okay, so the mental health thing is something that we're all talking about. And apparently, if you're a crazy person, like if you're crazy, you've got a history of being a crazy person, apparently it's not easy to get a gun. Apparently, like if you've been institutionalized or if you've done something and a psychiatrist has said this dude is a little crazy, if you've done that, it's difficult for you to get a gun. Good. It should be. Why are we acting like that's a victory? Why are there people in the argument who are like, it's already hard. You already can't get a gun if you're a crazy person. Why is that part of the, that's like, duh, okay, really? That's the hill you're going to die on. That we've accomplished that. We've made it difficult for, people who run down the street in their underwear, banging on pots and pans to go down to the store and get a gun anytime they want. That's our victory? We're not done with the mentally unstable part of this conversation. There's gotta be more. So mentally unstable people are not allowed to own firearms or buy firearms or whatever. They fail the background check. Well, how do you know that someone is mentally unstable? You know that they're mentally unstable because they've been mentally unstable. They've been. What if they haven't done anything yet? What if they're just somebody who everybody in the neighborhood has been like, that dude is weird? Have you ever encountered somebody weird in public and just said to the person you're with, that's a future mass shooter? It's like, that dude's gonna kill a whole bunch of people. Look at him, he's weird. So how about we make it hard? How about before you buy guns, instead of just saying, all right, let me run your name. Yep, you've never been committed to a lunatic asylum. How about you just gotta get passed over. You gotta get checked out by a doctor before you're allowed to get a gun. How about that? Oh, you can't do that. Well, now you sound like the NRA. The NRA don't want that. The NRA don't want it hard to sell guns. They want to be able to sell a gun to everybody who wants a gun. And sure, they're willing to give up a little. Okay, if you run down the street banging on pots and pans, singing and whistling Dixie, then okay, you can't have a gun. But only in that situation. This kid was 18 years old. This kid is obviously a friggin' lunatic. We don't know that there's any history here. He bought 2 guns legally. It appears. Again, I'm projecting right now what I assume is going to be the case. We don't know. It seems like it was legal. He posted about them. But my point is that a mentally unstable person who is thinking of doing something violent, who doesn't have a history, a documented history of being mentally unstable, is not going to go, hold on, wait a second. I'm having some pretty mentally unstable thoughts right now. Maybe I ought to go talk to a psychiatrist. That's not what a mentally unstable person does, because you see, they're mentally unstable. Recognizing that you have a problem, recognizing that there's something weird about the way you've been thinking lately, those are the actions of somebody who is at least remotely tethered to the real world. A crazy person doesn't think they're crazy. A crazy person thinks that those voices in their head are real. A crazy person thinks that the reason that they're going to go slaughter a whole bunch of fourth graders is because they're doing the right thing. You see, because they're crazy. And if they hadn't already done something in the community or to some people or gotten the police involved where people in the area went, yeah, this person's crazy, then they can just go buy a gun because they haven't done anything wrong yet. So why not, if you want to buy a gun, how about you got to go see, I don't know, a psychiatrist? How about, and I refuse to give in on the whole, well, what if there's a little form you got to fill out where you check, have you ever had dark thoughts? No, stop it. You're being silly. That's stupid. Do you have voices in your head that talk to you? Nope. Come on, you're being silly. You can't get a driver's license in this country unless you train, spend time with a driving teacher or a driver's education professional or somebody who's going to go, yeah, okay, this person's ready. Here's their permit. You go down to the DMV, you go, hey, you get your driver's license. Why is that? In the state of Illinois, where I am from, do you know the hoops that you have to jump through in order to become a hairstylist or a barber? Do you know the things that you have to do? If you decide, I want to cut hair for a living, the state of Illinois goes, oh, wait a second. We're not going to let you have a razor near a person's throat. We're going to need to have you jump through a whole bunch of hoops before we determine that you are safe. Why? Because as a hairstylist in Illinois, you might hurt somebody. But we don't seem to do that with guns because there's money involved, because this is a money play. Because you don't want to slow down the economy of the gun world. You don't want to slow down people's ability to buy 50 guns at a time if they want. In the state of Texas, It is infinitely more difficult to become a bartender than it is to become a legal gun owner. Why? Because as a bartender, you might overserve somebody. Because as a bartender, you might slip a little something in their drink. Because as a bartender, something bad might happen if you're not good at it. But that's not the case with buying a gun. It's question. I think something bad could happen if you buy a gun. I'm not an anti-Second Amendment guy. I am a victim of gun violence. As I said earlier, my life was irrevocably ruined. Not ruined. I was raised by a single mother who gave me an incredible life, and I'm very happy to have the life. But my life was made wildly different because of gun violence. But I'm not against the Second Amendment. I don't want to take your guns. I don't think that everybody needs to, turn in your guns or you're going to be like, no, come on, that's not realistic. That's never going to happen. But there's got to be a middle ground here. There's got to be somewhere. Reasonable people seem to agree that it should be a little bit more difficult to be able to go down and buy a gun than it is to get your driver's license at 16 or to cut hair or to become a bartender in the state of Texas. But we don't. We don't make these rules. We don't make these rules because the NRA is incredibly powerful. They've got a whole lot of money, and they donate a lot of that money to people who are running for office, and they give that money to these people running for office, and the people who are running for the office do nothing to make it difficult for people to acquire guns. That's the trade-off. That's Satan's deal. That's the sellout. And, don't blame guns. You got, I don't even want to say their name. You got one of these people. You got one of these crazy people who shouldn't be in the United States Congress. You got one of these crazy people going, you know what this is about? This is about the overprescription of medications. Seriously. One of these people tweeted that today. That the problem here is the over or under. She wasn't quite sure it's a her. It's one of them lady congressmen. She wasn't quite sure if it was the over or the under prescribing of mental pills that drive people. It's the pills. Well, I guess the pharmaceutical companies didn't donate to her campaign. So now she's going off after them. I don't know. I just think that that's a start. I just think that maybe if I want to go run down to the store and buy a gun, maybe they ought to say, okay, did you go see someone? Do you have your authentication? You got to do that with a driver's license. All right. Did you have driver's ed? Do you got a learner's permit? Did you do all that stuff? Did you? I think maybe that's a fair compromise. And honestly, I can't respect anybody who goes, no, because America, because Second Amendment. Nobody's trying to change the Second Amendment. We're just trying to admit that technology has gotten us to a place now where these guns are not muskets. These are not the same thing. We have moved into a place where you can kill a room full of fourth graders in under a minute. Less than that, probably. I don't know. I like to shoot guns. I've been out shooting guns. I was a gun owner. I enjoy it. Boom. It's fun. I get it. But I'm not a gun fetishist, I don't have a room with like all of these weapons where I go, that's kind of strange. But again, I have a different background than a lot of people. Let's see. Leslie says, is a felony to touch someone without a license. Al says, I have quite a few teacher friends, also Leslie, but any way to make it harder for them to get in should slow a killer down. Oh, that reminds me. It's a whole nother crazy thing that I'm seeing going around right now that people are talking about. So the very same people who do nothing but drag public school teachers. Oh, they're the worst. The public school teachers are the devil. Public school teachers, they're teaching your kids to be gay. Public school teachers are horrible. Public school teachers are crazy. The very same people who say that when the argument is convenient to their side of the debate are today saying we should give them guns. We should wait a second. Are they crazy and incompetent and terrible because they're teaching your kids about gay, which I don't even know that they are, but I know that that's the argument that people are making. Teachers suck. Teachers are the worst. We hate teachers. We should kill all the teachers. They're all the worst. Have you seen the school boards chasing teachers out, surrounding their cars? Teachers are terrible. Teachers are awful. But now, because the narrative is slightly different, now they're like, give teachers guns. Would you want to fire and kill all the teachers because they're crazy and incompetent? Or do you want to arm them to the teeth? But also mental. But also mental what? Yeah. What do you mean? See, it's a disingenuous argument that comes from people who are so obviously in the pocket of the NRA. And then you get to us, man. You get to us. You get to the people who are not in the pockets of the NRA, but have been programmed for 20 years by people that we listen to for ostensibly entertainment purposes. But there has been this devious subplot going on where over the course of the last 20 years or so, radio stations, AM talk guys who get these big contracts from these companies, these syndication groups that put them on 1,000 radio stations from coast to coast that are funded by Big Gun to get the message out. And we sit there and we drive and we sit in traffic and we listen to an articulate, charming individual who we like, who is bought and paid for the same way the congressmen are. So that when the issue comes up, we don't even think about it. We just go back to parroting whatever it is that we heard that sounded good from the smart, charming guy on the radio. Well, but Glenn Beck says, well, but Michael Savage says, well, but it's programming. You're not thinking straight. Stop it. Stop it. Any argument that says there should be no restrictions on the purchase of firearms in the year 2022 is bought and paid for. And if you believe that, you're a stupid person. Don't say that. I don't mean to insult you, but you're programmed. You're programmed. You're not thinking this through. And apparently, from the point of view of a lot of these people that I'm seeing on the social media today, my kid ain't dead. Well, I'm just going to keep carrying water for the NRA and for the people that want guns everywhere. My kid ain't dead. It's somebody else's kid that's dead. Sucks to be them. That really is what the attitude feels like. I don't know. Again, ain't nobody coming for your guns. Ain't nobody want a repeal of the Second Amendment. Anybody? Can you name somebody? I can't. I consider myself a political moderate. I can't name one person of any influence on the left. I guess this would be a left thing. I can't name one person who sits on a committee, who chairs a committee, who has any kind of stature in the House. Can't name one person, not one, who says we need to get rid of the Second Amendment. I mean, I'm sure there are people who say that, but they don't have any power. And they're not taken seriously by the caucus. They're just idiots. There's idiots on both sides, people. Come on. I mean, whether you're talking about some of the ridiculously over the top far left things that have been said by the squad, or talking about any of the ridiculous over the top things that are said at any given moment by the Marjorie Taylor Greens or the Lauren Boeberts or the, thank God, Madison Cawthorn's gone, or the Matt Gaetz. You know, these people, there are complete idiots on both sides. And you need to be able to recognize that all of these people are freaking, just sort of look at the people in the middle who are, oh my God, no day at the beach. These people in the middle, they ain't any better. I mean, well, I guess they are sort of better in that they seem to have at least a degree of shame about what it is that they do. Yeah, we're stuck. All right, so let's look at some of this stuff here. Let me see. You know who had really good information? I don't know if you guys are familiar with Heavy.com. Heavy.com is a news site. They do breaking news, but what they're really good at is whenever something happens in the moment while it's happening, they are always the first to have. They have a thing that they put out. It's called 5 Facts, 5 Fast Facts. And essentially, it just gives you 5 quick things that you need to know about any big news story that's happening. They do a really good job with it. So here, let's get into Salvador Ramos. That's the asshole's name. Salvador Ramos was named as the 18-year-old suspect in the mass shooting at Robb Elementary School in Uvalde, Texas, that left at least 19 students and 2 adults dead. It is the nation's deadliest elementary school shooting since the 2012 massacre at Sandy Hook Elementary in Newtown, Connecticut. The suspect, who flashed pictures of guns on Instagram, shot and killed his grandmother. Is that true? Is she dead? I don't know. Shot and killed his grandmother before storming into the school, pursued by law enforcement officers. The Uvalde high school student headed into classrooms and shot small children and a beloved 4th grade teacher to death before being killed. This here says here by a Border Patrol agent. Remember, I said that there was a Border Patrol office that was near this, and they were some of the first on the scene, and they went into the school chasing after him. Before being killed by a Border Patrol agent who had been working nearby and rushed to help, officials said. By late evening, the Associated Press reported that officials confirmed that at least 19 students and 2 adults, one a teacher, had died in the shooting. Texas State Senator Roland Gutierrez had said earlier in the day on CNN that 18 students and at least 1 adult were dead. Texas Governor Greg Abbott said in a news conference that swift action was taken by law enforcement at the scene of the mass shooting. Yeah, I mean, hey, look at this, okay? I'm not a cop hater. Look at what I'm wearing. I'm wearing an Illinois State Police t-shirt. My mother just retired from the Illinois State Police. I come from a cop family. I'm not anti-cop. You're just a lib who says defund the police. No, I don't. And I don't know anybody who does. I love cops. Love cops, but I also recognize that, so I'll take a deep breath and let's think about how we could maybe fix some things about modern policing. It's not a crime. It's not a crime to look at the lay of the land and go, you know what? I'm not going to just be some meathead going, bad cops are always right. It's not true. Here's the thing about being cop friendly and being cop adjacent as I am with my mother. Here's the thing. You see a lot of friggin' idiot cops. Oh, are you kidding me? I know dozens of people who are cops, career cops, who I'm like, that dude should not be a cop. And we go, So, I'm not a cop hater. I am just sort of, I like to think, a lucid, normal, rational thinker who goes, yeah, you know what? There are some bad dentists out there. There are also some bad cops. And there are bad plumbers. There are bad people in every profession. It just so happens that when you're a bad cop, that comes with a badge, it comes with authority, and it comes with a lethal sidearm. So we need to maybe look at cops a little bit differently. I mean, if you're this guy jag off. What is this? Should this guy be a cop? You know, it's not a crime to think like that. All cops are good. No, they're not. No, they're not. See, we cannot fix anything if those are the kinds of, all guns are bad, all gun owners are fetish. No, we got to stop with the absolutes. We got to stop the screaming. We got to stop the talking points that are fully funded by the NRA and pushed along by talk radio and news organizations and online news sources and all that stuff. We need to stop with the screaming, and we just all need to go out. We all just need to hang out. We all need to sit and just have a conversation about this, because you know what you find out? This is what I find out. This is why I'm so happily in the middle as a moderate. I find out that the vast majority of people, when you're not screaming talking points at each other, we all agree on so much. Texas Governor Greg Abbott. See, we can't all agree with Greg Abbott, you see, because Greg Abbott is perpetually running for re-election. So he has always got to scream the loudest and play to the most obscene portion of his base. Politicians, man. Politicians. Texas Governor Greg Abbott said in a news conference that swift action was taken by law enforcement at the scene of the mass shooting, but it was too late for many children. The shooter is no longer alive, Abbott said. The shooter was Salvador Ramos, an 18-year-old male who resided in Uvalde. The governor had said 14 students and 1 teacher were killed. The mass shooting occurred around noon. The first victim confirmed was Eva Morales, a 4th grade teacher. And then there's this whole thing where we can read about the victims. And look, if you want to read about the victims, if you want to hear about the victims, if that is in some way for you a way to pay respect, then, it's very easy to do. You can do that. You can find it. Maybe it's nice to look at pictures of these people and just for a moment take a deep breath and then think, you know what, that's not just somebody. That's just not a statistic that I saw play out on live TV. That's a human being. That's a person with parents who love them. That's a person with a boyfriend, with a girlfriend. That's a person with kids. That's somebody who is now missing from the lives of people. But I don't want to do that here. The pictures of the victims and all of that, emotional exploitation is what I think it is, which is why I'm going to be vomiting in my mouth for the next 3 days as we watch on the CNNs, the Fox News, and the MSNBCs just a long scroll with sad music of a most adorable little kids that we're going to see. They don't give a shit. That's emotional manipulation. How do we connect with the people and make them stay and watch? But feel free. If this is a way that you feel you're paying respect, sort of meditating on the moment by looking at them, then go ahead, do it. I'll do that. What I won't do is sit through a 5-minute montage of people who are no longer with us before CNN throws it to a commercial for Lexus. Not interested. No, thank you. And stay tuned and we'll tell. Coming up on CNN after the break, we'll tell you about the baseball game that this little 10-year-old just had played in and how good he did after this on CNN. Oh, I'm going to sit and watch all these commercials because I want to see how that little kid did in his baseball game on Sunday. It's all an emotional manipulation. Nothing is being done to serve the greater good of the public. Nothing is being done to educate us, inform us, help us in any way, shape, or form. Everything is being done to emotionally manipulate us so that we won't go anywhere, so that we'll sit there and we'll watch a fucking coffee commercial. And it's the soonest. And wake up, I guess is what I'm trying to say. A reporter, John Moan, spoke to a man who knew the suspect's grandmother. He described a scene in which Ramos was angry that he did not graduate. Okay, so now this was something that was going around. Okay, so now we're getting some kind of confirmation that this story might be real and that it comes from heavy.com, which is a source that over the past few years I have deemed to be pretty legit. They don't put out nonsense. They're first, they're early, and they seem to be thorough. They also seem to be accurate, which is probably the most important thing. Described a scene in which Ramos was angry that he did not graduate and that he had gotten into an argument with his grandmother and she started screaming. She started screaming, "He shot me, he shot me." He then zoomed down the street in his car. There was a crash. The suspect got out with 2 weapons and started firing. It was the first inkling of a possible motive. One video from the scene emerged on Facebook showing what some believe is the gunman entering the school. I've seen this video. Maybe we can watch it. I don't know. We'll see. One video from the scene emerged on Facebook showing what some believe is the gunman entering the school. Quoting now, "What my girls just sent me is this at Robb Elementary. Prayers for the kids and the staff," wrote Elsa G. Ruiz, who shared the video on her Facebook page. Yeah, there's the video now. It's not life-changing, okay? We know that he got into the school. We don't need to see some grainy cell phone video of somebody 100 yards away. Ramos entered the school with a handgun and possibly a rifle, the governor said. Mr. Ramos, the shooter, he himself is deceased and is believed that responding officers killed him. 2 responding officers were struck by rounds. Okay, so now we have this. Remember, he got past a school resource officer and 2 Uvalde police officers before he entered the school. There were 3 trained armed professionals who tried to stop this guy who was wearing a bulletproof vest and apparently was out gunning them. And 3 professionally trained people could not stop this 18-year-old madman from getting into the school. 2 responding officers were struck by rounds, but have no serious injuries, Abbott said. He said the gunman was a U.S. citizen. I'm like, that's important to some people, I guess. See? Border crisis! You know, he's born in North Dakota. The photo below was posted to his Instagram page. Another Instagram user also shared it to her story, writing, Salvador, there's no way you did that. This couldn't have been you. Apparently, he's got some friends on Instagram. Uvalde is now one of the nation's deadliest elementary school shootings. 20 children and 6 staff members were killed in the Sandy Hook school shooting in Connecticut. That suspect, Adam Lanza, also murdered his mother. President Joe Biden was briefed on the school shooting and planned to speak about it later in the evening. He did. His press secretary said, and some stuff about prayers, because, you know, that'll fix it. There's a lot we don't know yet. Biden said when he spoke, there's a lot we do know. Parents who will never see their child again, never have to. Okay, again, I don't need your emotional cheerleading for this. The Instagram page at Salv8Door tagged a woman who says she didn't know him. And he said, I got a little secret. And then posted a couple of pictures of his guns. We're looking at 2 pictures of AR-15 rifles that he posted to the Instagram page. The page was deleted after the gunman's name was announced by Abbott. The account included 2 selfies of a teen who appears to be the shooter, along with photos of 2 rifles. Another photo showed a person holding a gun magazine in his lap. The account followed multiple Instagram users confirmed to have been Uvalde high school students. So he followed some of his friends. No big deal there. And another account shared messages the account holder said the gunman sent her days before the shooting. That account was tagged by the gunman in his lone Instagram post. So he had 1 Instagram post. The person behind the tagged account said in an Instagram story posted after the shooting that she doesn't live in Texas and she doesn't know the shooter personally, and that she has no explanation as to why he tagged her. The woman posted messages, she said, were from the stranger who tagged her in a gun post on Instagram. He said, I got a little secret I want to tell you, one message said. She is now quoted as saying, I don't know him, and I don't even live in Texas. She wrote in her story. He's a stranger. I know nothing about him. He decided to tag me in his gun post. So sorry for the victims and their families. I really don't know what else to say about this. So isn't that weird, right? So there does seem to be some back and forth between the 2 of them, which I don't understand. She says she doesn't know him. I guess this was a back and forth after he tagged her. She says randomly she doesn't know him. It says he starts out with, I'm about to. And she says, what? About to what? Good morning. He says, I'll tell you before 11. That's this morning at 11. And then he says, good morning back. And then she says, good morning. Tell me about what? She says. And then he says, I'll text you in an hour. And she says, okay. See, she seems to be engaging with somebody who she now claims she doesn't know, doesn't live in. I mean, this is weird. This is weird that he had this sort of back and forth with someone who says that he was a total stranger. I'll text you in an hour, he says. Okay. She responds. But you have to respond, he says. I got a little secret. Again, this is all stuff from today. I'll text you in an hour, he says. She responds, okay. But you have to respond. I got a little secret I want to tell you. And then she says, I might be taking a nap because I'm really sick, but if I'm awake, I will. Again, she claims that he's a total stranger. She claims that she has no idea why she was tagged in this Instagram post. And yet here she is engaging with him. And by the way, she's the one who posted these things. She posted these things. This is a total stranger who I've never met before, who seems to have just accidentally tagged me in the Instagram post. But look at me having a back and forth with wishing him good morning, him saying he's going to text me again in an hour, and me being okay, but I might be asleep because I'm a little bit sick. This is weird. I don't know what is going on with this. I'll text you in an hour. Okay. But you have to respond. I've got a little secret I want to tell you. I might be taking a nap because I'm really sick, but if I'm awake, I will. And then he says, bet. And then she says, bet. And then he says, I'm a air out. But she says she doesn't know him. She says she has just a random tagging. There's going to be more coming with this, right? There's going to be more. There's something there. This is a woman. We're going to find out that she knew about this. We're going to find out that she's been talking to this guy. We're going to find out that, and right now she's just panicking. So she's making all these stories up. I love you too, Leslie. Leslie says, love you, Pugs. Got a giant day tomorrow. Go to bed. Put this one in the books. And then forget about it forever. Another person wrote on Instagram sharing a photo from the page. Salvador Ramos was his name. I had no idea that he was like this. And if I had known it, I would not have been following him. I barely knew him. We just had normal conversations. We talked twice. So I have since seen some comments made by some other people who went to high school with him, and they all said the same thing. Totally normal. Totally, this is a complete shock. Nobody had any idea that this was coming. The shooter, but maybe a psychiatrist would have, maybe a mental health professional who could have sat down with him before he went and bought those 2 AR-15s, would have seen some signs and gone, okay, we're going to have to put a little flag in this one. The shooter, a student at Uvalde High School who worked at Wendy's and had an aggressive streak, killed his grandmother first. See, is she dead? Do we know that she's dead? I don't know. I've got to see the latest numbers. There were warning signs, they're saying here. According to the Daily Beast, Ramos worked at Wendy's, where a coworker described him as having an aggressive streak. He would be very rude towards the girls sometimes, and one of the cooks threatening them by asking, do you know who I am? And he would also send inappropriate texts to the ladies at the park. Okay, so here's what it seems like. It seems like he's one of these guys who can't get laid, who hates women, who is a very, over-the-top misogynist, angry, got a lot of reason, doesn't understand why girls don't like him, and he's a complete jackass about it, has no game, doesn't know how to talk to girls, thinks that the way to get girls is to be a complete pig about it, which works if you look like Brad Pitt. But if you're a normal guy, you have to work on other aspects of your game in order to get girls to find you interesting. And he just didn't seem to understand that, at least from what I'm reading here. Do you know who I am? Now, that suggests delusions of grandeur. That suggests something that he thinks that he is something more than his station of life has positioned him at, and that he has some sort of probably bitterness about that. Do you know who I am? And he would also send inappropriate texts to the ladies. At the park, there'd be videos of him trying to fight people with boxing gloves. He'd take them around with him wherever he went. State police said the suspect shot and killed his grandmother before. See, is she dead? I don't know. I guess maybe. It is being reported that the subject shot his grandmother right before he went into the school. I have no further information about the connection between those two shootings, Abbott has said earlier in the news conference. State Senator Gutierrez said Ramos bought the firearms on his birthday legally from a dealer. That was the first thing he did on his 18th birthday, he said, this according to the AP. Ramos was originally from North Dakota. ABC News reported that the gunfire occurred inside the school, debunking earlier reports that the shooting occurred outside. Abbott said the gunman abandoned his car before entering the school and opening fire. Authorities are exploring his connection to the school and are working with a name and scouring social media. Authorities are, quote, exploring his connection to the school and, quote, are working with a name and scouring social media. I don't know what that means. 3, video emerged from the scene. The murdered children were in grades 2, 3, and 4. Video emerged of people running out of the school. I've seen that. We don't need to see that. That's, again, just an emotional manipulation that I choose not to engage in. He said the murdered students were in grades 2, 3, and 4. Arenado is the chief of the Uvalde Consolidated Independent School District. Uvalde is located 85 miles from San Antonio. Really? I've been here in 50, but okay. Fox News correspondent Bill Malugan wrote on Twitter that Annabelle Guadalupe Rodriguez is among the missing. That's according to her father. Okay. The father of 10-year-old Annabella Guadalupe Rodriguez tells us his daughter is missing following the mass shooting at Robb Elementary School in Uvalde, where she is a student. He provided her photo. Oh, my God. Yeah, in the photos, just adorable, beautiful little 10-year-old girl. A Border Patrol agent is believed to have shot and killed the barricaded shooter who was wearing body armor. Although now their Texas Rangers are saying, hold on, slow up, DPS. It wasn't body armor. It was just a whatever. Again. Malugan also wrote, Texas DPS says the school shooter shot his grandmother before going to Robb Elementary and shooting indiscriminately. He had a rifle and was wearing body armor, barricaded and exchanged gunfire with officers outside the school. He was eventually killed by a tactical team. Now, this is interesting because remember I talked to you about how my alarm started going off at around 12:20. And at 12:20 this afternoon, when we were doing our high noon show, and we started to sort of get focused on what this was, this developing story. And there were stories about someone being barricaded inside. And then there were other reports on social media at the time of gunfire being heard coming from inside the school. But then that was all quickly washed over by a police tweet that said, it's over, he's in custody, nothing to see here, done. And so we all moved on. I still have questions about that. My questions are, and again, it's not like, what were the police? Cover it up. No, it's like, okay, was this tactical on the part of the police? Because honestly, if I'm sitting here monitoring all of these details and people in the neighborhood are tweeting and reporting, shots being fired from inside the school and hearing this kind of thing, is it possible that there really is a barricaded situation and the police are just simply trying to control it by quieting the outside world, by making truth dies in darkness. I guess that's one way to look at it. But if this was a tactical decision by the police to put out a misleading tweet in order to get a hold of the situation, it didn't work. Didn't seem to have worked. We're talking about 19 dead kids. So I don't know, but that was odd. That was very odd that the radio scanners were silent. It was very odd that after about 10, 15 minutes of us following this story and thinking, oh my God, what is happening here? Suddenly it going away and them saying, he's in custody. It's over. It happened outside the school. Everything that you've been reading that's been coming up on social media, those are all just stories. None of it's true. We are the police here in Uvalde, and we are telling you right now at 12:40 p.m. Central Standard Time that it's over. He's in custody. Everything's fine. It was just a criminal thing that happened outside the school. So we moved on and the rest of the world moved on. And then a couple of hours later, 14 dead. So it's just very, very strange. This was a truly unique situation in the history of these kinds of stories that have always played out a little bit differently. There has been a continuity to the events. There has been a steady revelation of new details that bring the picture clearer and clearer over the course of, say, 3-4 hours as these events tend to unfold. It starts out with there's a shooting, police are responding, and then it goes to there was a gunman, then it goes to there was a gunman on the loose, and it goes to the gunman is in custody or the gunman is down, or it goes to the gunman is alive and he's still there and it's an active shooting. So it unveils itself over the course of time. In this particular story, it was the first time that I can remember where it became a thing, it became a story, we started getting details, and then it went, nope, over, forget it, move on, nothing to see here. That was a lie because it wasn't over. The reports from social media of people in the neighborhood hearing shots coming from inside the school, as it turns out, as darkly as it is to even consider this, he was murdering kids. And the police told us, and again, not because they were being bad, not because it's a conspiracy theory, not because Q's involved, but, Quite possibly because they were just trying to get control of the situation and quiet the outside world. Now, I don't know how I feel about that ultimately, but in the fog of war, when the idea is to save kids from something bad that's happening, I'm not going to question the decision in the moment by a professional. That comes days later. That's for a couple of days from now when we get a 30,000 foot view of this whole situation and we go, well, why was that decision made? Why was that decision made? In the moment while it's happening, hey, you know what? But for the grace of God, that's not my job. Thank God it's not my job. I'd probably be terrible at it. And maybe this guy's terrible at his job. We don't know. But he made a decision. He was in charge, and that's how it played out. And I've never seen it play out in this way before. How'd Parker go, Byron? How'd Byron's in the chat room? Byron was going to be listening, but he had some poker. He had some serious poker to get to. If you won, feel free to tip the show. That would be great. If not, keep listening. It's on me. Brady says, but yeah, Al, you are probably right. What does Al say? Al says they're not missing, more than likely not identifiable. Yeah, that's okay. So we're still talking about the kids. Yeah. Yeah. A border agent who has not been named is among the wounded. The exact number of those injured is not yet clear. That is the other thing that here we are now, almost 12 hours since the start of this incident today. What we know is the death count. And the death count is at 19 children and 2 adults. Unsure about the status of the grandma and unsure about whether or not the asshole who did this is included in the, I don't know. We don't know. But we have no idea how many people are in hospitals. Memorial Hospital in Uvalde earlier today at around 4:00 released a note that said that they had moved into what they were calling a level 4 triage situation, which suggests that there are a lot of injured, that there are a lot of people. So there have been no numbers that have been put out about how many people are in surgery, how many people are recovering, how many people were walking wounded, what is the number of the full casualty count? We know the death count at this moment is 19 and 2 for a total of 21. But I mean, are we going to wake up tomorrow morning and it's going to be 35? Right? You know what I mean? There's an uneasiness about what are we talking about here? How many people are in grave danger of passing away due to this incident who are not dead yet? How many more kids? Natasha Bertrand, a CNN reporter, wrote on Twitter, Sergeant Eric Estrada. There's a little something for you. You gotta get something to chuckle at. I chuckled at that when I heard that. The spokesperson for the Texas Department of Public Safety's name is Eric Estrada. How much you want to bet they call him Ponch? Oh, they gotta call him Ponch. Sergeant Eric Estrada, the Texas Department of Public Safety, tells Anderson Cooper that the shooter crashed his car near the school, got out with a gun, wearing body armor, was engaged by law enforcement, but made his way into the school anyway and went classroom to classroom shooting. So there again. So please stop telling me that the way to fix this is to put armed, well-trained law enforcement professionals in every school in America, because this guy made it past 2 Uvalde police officers and an armed school security agent. Okay. This kid made it past 3. This kid made it past 3 well-armed, well-trained law enforcement security professionals. Okay. So no, Ted Cruz, don't just say, I'm going to author a bill that says every school in America is going to have. First of all, most of the schools do. Most of the schools already have this guy. How many? In this particular case, we saw 3. We saw 3 were not enough. 3 well-armed police officers with extensive training in this very situation were not enough to stop this 18-year-old novice in body armor from busting through their lines of defense and getting into the school and killing 19 kids. So please stop it. Stop it with that. Well, what if we give the teachers guns? Okay, so not trained teachers who the other night you were yelling about how teachers are crazy because they're teaching their kids to be gay and teachers suck and, oh, we can't trust teachers. Now you want to give them guns. Now you want to give them guns, even though what we saw play out today was that 3 well-trained law enforcement officers who were armed were no match for this kid, this 18-year-old kid wearing body armor with an AR-15. But law enforcement, again, may I direct your attention to the Buffalo supermarket where the first victim was a Buffalo police officer who was working at the store as an armed security guard. Putting somebody on school campuses with a gun who is trained in the arts of law enforcement can't hurt. I'm not going to say it's a bad thing. But let's stop pretending like it'll fix it because it won't. Let's go deeper. Because now we've got 2 instances in the last couple of weeks where a whole lot of innocent people, and now it looks like maybe 20 children we'll just throw on. Now, we all saw the sad pictures of the black grannies, the grandmamas who all got mowed down at that store in Buffalo, and that was sad. And now we got a bunch of little kids. They were all theoretically, according to Ted Cruz, protected by the indefensible might of an armed, well-trained law enforcement professional who, in both cases, seems to be the first victim. In the Buffalo shooting at the grocery store, he was the first victim. The first victim killed was the well-trained Buffalo police officer who was at the store as a security guard. In this case, the first people who were engaged and shot were police officers, 2 Uvalde police officers and 1 school resource officer who was armed. Natasha Bertrand, a CNN reporter, wrote on Twitter, Sergeant Eric Estrada, the Texas Department of Public Safety, tells Anderson Cooper the shooter crashed his car near the school, got out with a gun wearing body armor, was engaged by law enforcement, but made his way into the school anyway and went classroom to classroom shooting. ABC News first reported in their live stream that as many as 14 were dead, including several children. Many others initially reported said that only 2 people were dead. But that was because they were citing Memorial Hospital, who at that time had only had 2 people dead directly related to this. So when Memorial didn't account for, apparently there's another hospital in the area, and it also didn't account for all of the people who were dead who didn't get taken to a hospital because their bodies were tore apart on the floor of their 3rd grade classroom. Okay, so of the people who were rushed thinking, we can save them, let's get them to the hospital, those were the 2 that Memorial Hospital were dead. So that's why. It's not like they was lying to us. No, they weren't. It's chaos. So at 1:06, okay, a little bit later than I thought, because we were doing 1:06 p.m. Shooter is in police custody, the Uvalde Police Department wrote in one of its initial statements. There was an active shooter at Robb Elementary School. Here's the initial report. There's an active shooter at Robb Elementary School. Law enforcement is on site. Your cooperation is needed at this time by not visiting the campus. As soon as more information is gathered, it will be shared. That was posted on Facebook at 12:38 p.m. Okay, so that's when this whole thing started. And then again, at 1:06, and this is around the time that we were covering it, we saw this tweet from Uvalde Police Department that said 1:06 p.m., shooter is in police custody. So we all went, okay, that's it. It's over. It's not a thing. The police department wrote at 12:38 p.m. that Robb Elementary students were being transported to the Willie D. Leon Civic Center to reunify with their loved ones. That was at 12:38. That's a lie. That was not what was happening at 12:38. We know now that is not what was happening at 12:38, and yet the police department put that out. I'm starting to walk myself off the side of, these guys knew what they were doing. They were just at the fog of war. They were in the middle of this whole thing. They were doing what they thought was best. I don't know. Now that I'm reading all of these older reports about how this first began, it's starting to look like there was just some bad information being put out by some trusted legacy sources. And in this case, the institution of the Uvalde Police Department, who should be the end all be all. Shut up. What did the police say? Source on this thing. Police at 12:23 p.m. said that there was a large police presence at Robb Elementary School. Okay, so there you go. So we worked our way through the whole thing. Saw the way it started. Ramos went into several classrooms even after law enforcement officers had already engaged him. ATF Houston is on the scene. This is from ATF Houston, a tweet. ATF Houston is on the scene at Robb Elementary School in Uvalde, Texas, providing assistance in the investigation of a school shooting. Uvalde Police Department is the point of contact and will release more information as it becomes available. That was at 2:40 p.m. today. That sounds like they're on the scene, they're investigating, they're working with the police. The police, and a couple hours earlier, had told us that the dude was in custody. Yeah, it seems like, okay, all right. So there was something that went down. It's all right. Nobody said nothing about no hurt kids. Let's move on. Let's talk about the other things that are happening in the world. Law enforcement officials described a harrowing scene in which officers tried to stop the suspect outside the school, but he got inside anyway. Again, note to Ted Cruz. Somebody tell Ted Cruz that he got past 2 police officers and a school resource officer, all of them armed, and then seemed to barricade himself for a period of time against a group of Border Patrol agents who arrived on the scene. Texas DPS spokesperson to CNN. Several law enforcement officers engaged the subject outside the school, but he was able to make entry into the school. The shooter then went classroom to classroom. 2 cops, well-trained, well-armed, confronted him outside, got past him. Then he confronted the school resource officer, got past him, got inside, went classroom to classroom. So I'll tell you, we were friggin' lousy with good guys with guns in this situation. We were lousy with them. I guess the answer is good guys with bigger guns, because that's really the situation. This kid was wearing depending on who you listen to here, either body armor or a bulletproof vest. And he had AR-15s. And I'm pretty sure cops don't carry AR-15s. All right, so there we go. That's it. That's the story from tip to top. Tip to top. Tip to top. Is that the way you say it? I don't know. Hey, drunkie, drink a little bit more whiskey. The whole point of this entire situation that I've been sort of working through in my head, and I appreciate you guys hanging out with me tonight, because if you weren't here listening to this, then I would just be a crazy fat man sitting in bed yelling at the wall. I don't know. And my grandpa used to say, only alcoholics drink alone. So here, have a beer with me. So thank you. Thank you for being here. Look at this. This looks like, hey, Pugs is doing urine shots. All right, let's see what the absolute latest is. Do we have a new number that's been updated? Or are we just now at this point going to read a bunch of people making just ass-backward political statements about this whole thing? Let's see here. Reports are that he had body armor on. People saw him crash his car and exit with weapons. 2 policemen and a resource officer fired on him before he entered the school, to no avail. He fired back, entered, and killed 19 kids and a teacher. Good guys with a gun in this situation meant nothing. Okay. Hashtag Uvalde. Hey, what'd the Mavs do? We got a final score on the Mavs game? Because there was a point during today when I was really interested in the Mavs game. Now it's like, well, nothing like 19 dead 9-year-olds to make you sort of reevaluate what's important to you. All right, hold on. Let me see here. Who won? Byron, who won? Mavs won? I don't even know. It's like I was way into this. At like 2:30, I was way into this. And now I could really care less. All right. Well, I got you here. I might as well mention. We do 2 shows a day. We do the high noon stream, which is at noon every day. That's topics. That's just me going through all of the headlines and the hot topics and the trends that are happening on any given day. I tell you why it's trending. I give you my hot take on it, and then we move on to the next one. We don't spend a whole lot of time on it. It's just designed to give you a nice little cheat sheet on everything that you need to know about the day that's ahead of you. That's the noon show. Then we come back Monday through Thursday. We do something at 9 o'clock we call Pillow Talk. That's myself and James Parker. We call it Pugs and Parker proudly present Pillow Talk. It is more conversational. It's more, and by the way, here is the whole idea. This is why I started doing these streams. And I've been doing them now for about 9 months, 10 months, maybe at this point, 9 months. I think we're moving into our 10th month. Anyway, the reason I've been doing these shows is because many of you used to listen to me when I was on the radio and I did talk radio in this town. I spent 25 years doing talk radio in both Chicago and in Dallas. And, it was my career. It's what I did. It's what I enjoyed. I thought to some degree I was kind of okay at it. Some people, haters gonna hate, but, other than that, I paid the bills. I had a very nice life. I did it. And then suddenly talk radio changed and it all became about how did you vote and how are you going to tell people that they're wrong for the way they voted? When talk radio became that, I kind of jumped out. I said, you know what? I can't do it. Can't do that kind of talk because I believe that we as people, we have far more in common than just the way that we vote. Hell, if I only liked or hung out with the people who voted exactly like me, I'd have no friends. And, you look around at this world, I guess there's a lot of people who don't have any friends because there are a lot of people who completely define themselves by their political affiliation, which is ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous to define yourself by whether or not you're a Republican or you're a Democrat. You're either a libtard or you're MAGA. It is absolutely moronic to define yourself in that way. But you're a follower. If you do, you're a follower. You're just somebody who's looking for somebody to belong to, and I want to be around people who think like me. If that's what you are, then you know what? Go kick rocks. We don't need you here. These shows that we do, the 2 shows that we do each and every day is for people who are a little bit more nuanced in the way they see the world. Yes, they might be pledged to one side or the other. You might be right. You might be left. You might be a lifelong Republican. You might be a lifelong Democrat. But you do understand that that is not the sole factor that defines you. And that's what I do radio shows for. That's what the High Noon show is for. That's what the Pillow Talk show is for. Those are for people who... I'm not even going to say we're open-minded. I'm just going to say we realize that there is idiocy on both sides and that there's nobody who is absolutely correct 100% of the time. And a lot of the shit that one side says about the other is probably nonsense. And so that's the difference. So the High Noon show is all about current events, hot topics, trends, funneled through a lens of this is not for the right. This is not for the left. This is for us. Pillow Talk show is exactly the same way. So if you're new to this whole thing and you're just listening because of this, I invite you to come on by and join us for the noon show. Also, needs to be mentioned that the shows do run on your tips. They run on your gratuities. We don't do any advertising. Actually, we had an opportunity. I don't want to say that because then I'd have to explain it to some people, but it would just be like, maybe, I don't know, maybe that's where we go. So if you want a tip or you want to pass along a little gratuity to allow us to continue doing the 2 shows daily, whether it's the High Noon show at noon or the Pillow Talk show at 9 p.m., you can do that. The casual, here, you know what? I'll put that up right now. Why not? Hey, dude, why not try and monetize this tragedy? Well, okay, that seems to be the way of America. I hate that. That seems so. At least, whatever. If you're in a position to help keep these shows going, it would be greatly appreciated, and we thank you. We are at the end of the month, so it is more important this week than in any other weeks. Now I'm starting to see these pictures. Starting to see people are starting to family members. Oh my God. All the Robb Elementary kids are still missing from the Uvalde, Texas shooting. Please stop scrolling and retweet this. Do we? Yeah. Okay, so I believe that this is all right. And I just did that whole thing about the emotional manipulation that we get from the CNNs and the MSNBCs, where they're like, "Here, please look at this montage of pictures of beautiful young children who were slaughtered in their classrooms today, and come back on the other side of this commercial break because we'll show you more." It's I don't like that stuff, but this is kind of moving. This is kind of powerful, and I'm not gonna hang on this the whole time. But why not? Why not show it to you, right? So this is something that is going around right now, and it looks to be a montage pictures of these are the kids. I don't know. Is this real? I mean, it looks like it could be. So these are pictures. Okay, I see now. Okay, so these pictures come from parents of missing kids that have not been accounted for. Okay, so there you are. Those are the pictures of the little second, third, and fourth graders whose parents are still waiting and hoping against hope that what's the best case scenario? Your kid's been in surgery for the last 6 hours. That's what they're hoping to hear. I mean, come on, man. So I guess we don't know if these are children who are included in the 19 that we already know to have passed away, or if these are kids that are just going to be added to that total. Look at this guy here down at the bottom. Look at him. He's got a cast on. He's like, yeah, I fucked some shit up. Yeah, I got into some shit a couple of weeks back. Look at him. That's a baller right there. She's beautiful. They're all beautiful. This one wearing her little ears. The emotional manipulation continues, right? That's heavy. That is heavy. That is some heavy shit. So yeah, I don't know what the deal is with them. Leslie says, I feel it's important to see faces. It makes it real. Yeah, you're probably right. You're probably right. I wonder, it's funny. I know a lot of us, looking at some of you people in the chat room, a lot of you I know have kids. I've got a kid roughly in that same age group. I remember Sandy Hook. I remember when Sandy Hook went down. It was the middle of the day, and I remember when that story started to come across on CNN. And it was a particularly difficult time, we will say, between me and my son's mother. And I remember like it was just, now things are great. She's a wonderful mother. You couldn't have a better mom. We have a terrific working, functioning relationship. But it wasn't always like that. It wasn't like that back then. The divorce was in progress and all that kind of stuff. And I remember Sandy Hook went down. And I remember calling her and demanding, put him on the phone right now. He was only like 4. He was the age of the Sandy Hook. He was like a kindergartner kid, right? I'm like, put him on the phone right now. I want to talk to him. I need to talk to him. And it was one of those things, no matter how ugly the situation was, the grown-up situation that she and I had created during the disillusion of our marriage and family and all that kind of stuff, no matter how ugly it was, I'll never forget that in that moment when I called her up, and it was very hard to call because we weren't talking, it wasn't good. It was just, and I remember calling her and saying, put him on the phone. I need to talk to him right now. And I probably wasn't even that nice. I was probably in a bad spot. And I was all ramped up. And I will never forget, to her credit, it was like she completely understood the situation. And she said, hold on, let me get him. There was no, well, you don't get to talk to him today because there was none of that. There was none of that. Obviously, she knew about the Sandy Hook thing. I knew about the Sandy Hook thing. It was everywhere. And it was just like two human beings putting all of that garbage aside and going, you know what? We created this kid together, and I completely get why you need to talk to him right now. Yeah, I told you I did that stupid thing tonight before I came on. I texted my kid, which, I text him every night. We talk every night about something. Usually it's about baseball or something stupid like that. But I just, out of the blue, I randomly texted him tonight. I texted him, where is it? I love you very much, which is just kind of a weird thing because usually we bust each other's balls, even though it is known that we love each other very much. But I just texted him, I love you very much. And he slow rolled me. He made me wait like, what is it? So I sent that at 8:40. He finally retexted me at 9:30. So he let me wait 50 minutes. And the 50-minute response was, why you being weird? Back at you. And I guess what I'm saying is, I wonder if I would have had any sort of a different reaction to this. I wonder if it's different not being a parent. I wonder if people who aren't parents, I mean, certainly, you will be affected by this. This is a tragic story. And, you don't have to be a parent to love kids and like kids, and that whole thing. But I wonder if it's like extra, like I just put up that picture of those missing kids and I started fucking crying. I mean, I got this whole like thing. I got like all choked up about it. And that's sort of why I started thinking about this. Like maybe I'm not special because I got somebody pregnant and we had a kid. Hell, there's 8 billion people who have achieved that miraculous feat. It's not exactly anything that makes anybody special. But man, when I go to bed tonight, which is probably going to be in a couple of minutes because I'm drinking here. But when I go to bed tonight, and maybe you should as well, don't know if you're religious, don't know if you're a person of faith, don't know if any of that stuff plays into your daily comings and goings in your world. Either keep a good thought for those parents who are at the reunification center right now, who have been there for hours and hours and hours, who had to give DNA swabs because the investigators can't identify the bodies because they're so tore up. Or maybe if that's not your speed, maybe if that would just cause you nightmares and, maybe not be able to sleep very well. On some level, just lay there and go, wasn't our time today. Today it didn't happen to us. Today it happened to other people. Today it happened to them. It was their time today. It wasn't our time today, but is it going to be our time? That's a thing. I was talking to my friend earlier tonight about this, my friend in Chicago. And he was like, first of all, he texted me. He said, is Mace okay? He's Texas. He knows I'm in Texas. I'm like, yeah, of course he is. It's 500 miles away. It's a big state, big, crazy state. And we started talking. And I said, because he also has his son is a little bit older, but he went through it. He had a young child who went to school in the era of the school shootings. And I said to him, boy, don't you think that like our parents and their parents and anybody who raised elementary school kids in the 70s, in the 80s, and in the 60s, and even to some extent for the most part of the 90s, didn't they get off easy? Didn't those parents get off easy as opposed to those of us now who have children who every single day that we send our kids to school, there is the specter that something like this could happen. This couldn't have happened in 1992. This couldn't have happened in 1984. This couldn't have happened in 1978. I mean, it could have, but it would have been like 1 in a quadrillion chance. It was the outlier. A space satellite could have fallen out of the sky and crushed the school with just as much possibility. I said to him, don't you think that those people got off easy? Don't you think that our parents, they didn't have to, they could go to work, they could send us to school and everything would be fine. The worst case scenario is they get a call from the principal and we got into a fight or something happened, blah, blah, blah. We broke our arm in gym class. That's like the worst that those parents, that our parents, that generation had to worry about. And you know what he said to me? He goes, not really. And I go, why not? And he goes, because it ain't just schools. He goes, this happened with a grandma who went to a supermarket in Buffalo a couple of weeks ago. This happens with people who go to see movies. This happens with people who go to shopping malls. This happens with people who went to a country music festival in Las Vegas. It's not just about kids. And I was like, wow. I go, yeah. I go, and I hadn't really thought about that. Here I am just, personalizing this whole thing, me having a kid, me only being worried about my own personal universe and what I'm concerned about with sending my kid to school. But you're right. Doesn't matter. Could happen to me. That kid doesn't, because the kids don't worry. I talk to my kid all the time about this kind of stuff. I'm obsessed. I'm like, okay, so what's the plan? I go, you guys have a plan in place? I go, what happens? Somebody comes in, my kid goes to school in Texas. I mean, there's the Texas male is not necessarily the kind of dude who goes, I need to talk to somebody about my problems. That's not really a thing that is ingrained in the Texan DNA. And that guy also has a whole bunch of guns. I mean, that's just kind of a thing. So I talked to my kid about it. I'm like, so what happens? What happens? And he's like, well, we have these active shooter drills. And I remember I said this to my kid once. I go, you have active and I got all maudlin and I got all heavy handed. I'm like, oh, it is so incredibly sad that you have to exist in a world where you have active shooter drills. What is this world coming to? You know what he said to me? He goes, didn't you have nuclear war drills? And I'm like, well, yeah, okay. So maybe. I do remember being very young, the old duck and cover thing. If there's a nuclear attack by the Soviet Union and the bombs begin to fall out of the sky, get under your desk, you'll be fine. So maybe it isn't all that special. Maybe this generation isn't all that. Maybe it's just different. It's just every generation gets their own horror. And they don't have a care in the world. That's the one thing that I did discover about my kid. The situation that happened today in Uvalde, Texas. I mean, again, when the rubber meets the road, it happened to the children. But on a day in and day out kind of basis, this isn't the sort of thing that our kids are really worried about. My kid doesn't think about it at all. Kids are invincible. My kid's not going to school every day at 13 years old, worried that somebody's going to break into his school and shoot everybody up. He's not. Doesn't even consider it. He's in school. He's concerned that, does his hair look good? Does that girl that he like him back? He's got all of those innocent kid problems, and maybe that's a good thing. But we, the parents, we think about it a lot. We don't obsess on it. I don't think we do. I don't think any of us, every single day of our life wake up and go, please don't be the day. But we do exist in a world now where, as parents, we have to actually actively sort of consider the possibility. And tonight, down there in Uvalde, Texas, there are parents who are living that moment, who are living that nightmare. So tonight, when you go to bed, like I said, I don't give a shit if you pray to God. I don't care what it is. Whatever it is that you think about, consider yourself lucky. At the very least, consider yourself lucky. And then maybe send out some good energy to them. All right. I think that's it. I think we're going to be done. I'm sure that we will have more about this tomorrow during the noon show. So join me at noon tomorrow for the high noon show. We do it every Monday through Friday. Again, we do topics, we do headlines, we do current events. Share the show, spread the word about the show. We try to do talk radio from a perspective that isn't divisive, that isn't elitist, that isn't one side is right, the other side is wrong. We try and keep an even hand. Thank you so much for being with us today. My goodness, it looks like we did 2, 4. We did almost 7 hours. I almost did a real person's job today. We did almost 7 hours plus of live streaming. I hope. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Appreciate me being afforded the opportunity to work through all of this nonsense so publicly and with you guys. I see all the names that I know, all the people that I see every day. So thank you very much. And that's going to do it. We're going to end this stream. Good night. God bless. Good luck. See you tomorrow at noon for the high noon show. Pugs Moran on the Radio Misfits podcast platform.